Hello, everyone. Today, it's a great gift, for me at least, that I have a special guest once again. Today, we have our first female guest. Oh, no, female foreign guest, and that's a great honor. So, Amanda, hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, and thanks for hosting this.
Yeah, it's my pleasure and my honor to do this with you. I know your work, at least some of it. I know how hard you try to bring some truth, if I might add, to the healthcare community and general to the world. So I guess though that most of my viewers, most of them are Greeks for now, probably don't know you. You are kind of on the fringe of the YouTube space, kicked off from time to time, sadly. So how about, just tell your story slowly but surely, and we go from there.
Well, it's a long story, so I'll just summarize.
Yes.
In youth, was very interested in holistic principles um, and remedies and why I was here, what my purpose was. So I was very much a seeker of knowledge and read a lot, and then traveled in my youth as well. Greece was one of the places I always wanted to visit. Greece, Italy, and also parts of Africa. And there's a lot of traveling I haven't done, Ireland, these sorts of things. But my background's actually European as well. My dad was born in Germany, near Stuttgart, and I've been there twice. I've been to England. I did some traveling in Europe, but I never got to your lovely area or island. And but I will mark my words, and
You
I
should.
will I will do it as a free traveling woman, not as a slave. So I then went to a lot of schooling. I think I'm almost overschooled. It was a bit ridiculous because in high school I decided I didn't want to pursue my arts degree and my writing career, which I was encouraged to do. Instead, I wanted to help animals and go into animal medicine. So I did a lot of study, holistic animal medicine. And I thought that's where I was going to head. But the veterinary college, when I applied and got to the interview process, was they were not interested in someone who wasn't in their conventional model. They didn't like the holistic ideologies or the natural remedies. So that was a little bit of a upsetting experience. And then my mentor, when I was living out in Edmonton, which is the West Coast, I'm in Ontario in Canada, I decided, he encouraged me to go to naturopathic college because he said, well, at least you can learn, the holistic principles and you can work with human medicine for now. And if you really want to continue on in your animal studies, then do it after that. But at least you're progressing forward. So I took him up on that decision, and that's what I ended up doing. I graduated 2008 from the Canadian College of Naturopathic Medicine, and the precursor to that, I went out west to University of Lethbridge, and that's my undergrad degree in agricultural biotechnology. And the only reason I did that BSc was because that was going to get my precursors to vet school. Otherwise, I would have probably done some other things. But interestingly enough, I've seemed to be always getting a peer inside those worlds. For example, vivisection, I worked in vivisection at the University of Alberta. It's called KLAS, and it's basically the lab animals and how they run their studies. So I learned firsthand how that's done. I have a degree in in biotech, so I know how they do genetic engineering. I've done it in the lab. I understand how that goes. I worked with scientists in the lab. I understand how a lot of these studies are written, the process, the grant money, the hierarchy. So it was interesting because my path was very holistic, but I got thrown into these situations where I saw behind the scenes. And I think that helps me understand from a well-rounded perspective why this entire system corrupted and not serving humanity in the way that we really need it to serve humanity. So then I got pregnant, which changes everything. And I could not, I looked around myself. I was living in Toronto and I just couldn't see myself raising a child in a city like that, where I couldn't shield her eyes from all the advertising on every flat surface, and the electromagnetic pollution, the fluoride in the water. I felt I couldn't control things as well. So I moved up north, a couple hours up north from Toronto, and ended up having a house that I also could have commercial frontage, and started a store, and that's Yum Naturals now. And I started making natural remedies. I make over 150 different holistic remedies, from tinctures to creams and salves. And then I found about DMSO more specifically, and got very excited about that because my chemistry background, got brought through, and things that I like to do, which is tinker with it and mix it with natural remedies. And so that became a process for me. And I have quite a handful of products that I've blended remedies together using DMSO for a better delivery system. And then I was asked to write a book by a publishing company, and I did so. It's called Healing with DMSO. And it's a simple guide for people who are new to the substance and want to use it safely, and want to make their own recipes at home, and then how to apply it for certain circumstances. So it's a book you can really go to often as you need to remember how to apply it properly, so you can feel confident in using it, because I think it's a substance that should be in every home, really.
You said many things, and you basically talked about your history, about DMSO, and I think nobody knows what DMSO is. So later on, I would love you to, say a little bit more about it and about your book, of course. But since you went on to talk about the struggles that you faced during this thing, you can call this scamdemic, I'm sorry. So I would love you to tell me, why do you care? Why do you want to get into the risk? What is it, you think, that makes you inclined to risk your name, your business, your family, your security, your safety, and go and try and shake people? What is it? Since, I guess you kind of, if I'm guessing right, you kind of have your needs, your basic needs met, kind of, right? So if you have done this already, why do you care?
Well, off air, we just discussed, walking your purpose, living your truth, your path, and that there's some predetermined aspect to that. And in my world, on my path, it is not just about whatever I might need or my family needs. The needs are greater than that. That determinants of health are larger than just me and my immediate family. They are interactive into community, and then that's interactive into a greater community. We're not separate. We have ripple effects upon each other based on our decisions, our habits, our behaviors, and our belief systems. And if our rights are being trampled and it's affecting in a ripple effect way, a negative aspect for, our political milieu, our social aspects, the way we interact in our lives, then it has a bearing upon all those facets, all those determinants of health. And that's part of my path. That's one of the things I have been teaching about all the way through. It just is a natural progression as a teacher, really, to continue to teach and to continue to do the work before me. And I basically just give it to the creator all the time. I ask the creator, what am I to do? What would you like me to do? It's never about my ego. I don't want it to be about me. And I will give all of myself to the creator. I don't concern myself with such things, because if you're living from the heart and you're working with truth as best as you can, and your intentions are pure, then you're protected, and you will be given what you need, and you'll be shown what you need to be shown to put yourself in a position of safety if it comes to that. And I fully believe that. So it was just being truthful, or being with integrity, and modeling someone who has integrity, because we've lost that. Our leaders are not showing integrity. I haven't seen one yet in the public eye that's acting in pure integrity ultimately. So we need to remember what that looks like, and we need to have true inspiration from others who are willing to be bold and to speak truth honestly and to do what's right. If everybody just cowers and hides, that's how totalitarian regimes get control, is when people say nothing or do nothing, or hide their passions, or suppress themselves, or try to protect their small, basically, lives. I mean, we're infinite beings. I don't see myself as this one life. So it's a short life in this body. And if you're not living it fully, what are you doing? I mean, what's the point? Are you just living to watch television all day? Because to me, that would be hell. That's a version of hell to me. Live and speak and be unapologetically you, and keep working on yourself, right? And so it's just was a calling, I guess, in some ways, or just what came naturally when that fire comes through me. Some people call that Holy Spirit, whatever that energy is that people call. I listen to that. That's a directive to me. I will never ignore such a thing. So when I felt passionate to do rants, or I felt like I had to cheer someone up by being goofy, sometimes I'll be completely goofy in a video because that's what I feel I'm supposed to do, because the receiver of that is going to lighten up, and they're going to heal some aspect of their emotional field, and they're going to feel like they can go on another day, or they're going to feel like they can help in some way, or they can find their purpose. And I don't know how that ripples out. I just know that if I listen to divine energy, it's going to do something for somebody, and that's enough for me. So that's really it. It's an integrity aspect that's important to me.
Yeah, I've seen your rants, and I identified you have a fire. You are. Are you sure? Are you not from Latin countries or something? Because usually, usually, usually those Latin women are very fiery. And I've seen your rants, and it's energy. I feel it, and I've identified myself to your rants because I'm also intuitive. So I feel like a few people are very intuitive and we listen to our guts. So I'm kind of the same like you. I'm not that brave yet, so I'm trying. But I know I'm going outside semi-naked doing my exercise in the park. And of course, as you can probably guess, that's a little bit odd to most people. And I've done these things. I'm running, outside winter time because I love the winter, I love the rain, and I enjoy it. But other people seem to be bewildered. How can you say this? They find it weird, if I can say. So is there something in your youth that that initiated this fire before your education? Do you identify something when you were a child or something like that? Because I'm always intrigued by how some people are naturally always taking the weird, risky road, always, and some don't. And it seems to be a pattern there. And I'm trying to figure out for myself, and I hope for the viewers. Do you have anything to guess about your childhood? Something? Why? Why are you so fired up about this?
It could be simply my astrology, the way that my personality developed through that. Fire sign, sun, moon sign, water sign, ascendant in earth. I have a mothering instinct through my Venus is in Cancer, which is nurturing. I mother my friends, this sort of thing. And it could be partly that. It could be partly the way I express. In numerology, I'm a 34/7, which is an expression-based path towards trust. So everything is toward a trust, or trusting life, trusting the creator, trusting my family, friends, community, etc. So you're always testing to see if you can trust it. And the 3 is the expression part. So it's the path. It's just how the growth pattern goes. And it's not everybody's path, of course, because we're all unique in that regard. And I also have a minor in acting. I always felt drawn to do very creative acting, stage acting specifically, because I really liked the bold movements and the facial expressions. I was very good at that, and I enjoyed that. In my university years, I did many stage productions, and it was enjoyable to me. I found it very fun. And it's just, some people just are dramatic in that regard, where they like to be creative. And the Pisces side, the moon side, actually Pisces are very funny. They have a good sense of humor, and even a dry sense of humor, and that comes out for me. And the moon sign generally is the underlying emotional, the inner self, So I always wanted to do stand-up comedy, actually. That was what I wanted to do. I did a few open mics with great success, which were epic, and I wish were filmed, because it was so much fun. In naturopathic college, we'd have a sort of like a cafe event where you would have, whatever other skills you had, you could display them. And so one was singing, and I was in a lot of bands as well. I was a singer for a while. And just the performing arts was fun for me. So, and it's interesting to have that background in presentation and trying to explain things, because I've had the training in how to speak clearly and not to mumble and these sorts of things. And it gives you a better confidence to go forward. Just like if people do, any kind of spoken word, or if they're shy to speak, they do go to certain events and things to try to get. So I already had that coming in. And I found it interesting. I was like set up to do it in a weird way,
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, you have the skills for sure. Because I've done public speaking training in the past. I had a few people trained me, and Toastmasters.
Toastmasters. Yeah.
Yeah, Toastmasters was kind of okay. The expression part, what you basically, I think, said is that you are very expressive. You want to express your fire, and probably what that means to me is that you have a high vitality, because expression is not for me just words, it's the energy. Having said that, though, let's go to about the energy. Let's go to the medical system, because you talked about you studied everything under the sun, and you've done many things, and you've seen behind the curtains a few ugly truths. I want you to kind of indicate what's happening with the medical system as a whole, and I will add a few of my stories at the end of it. What I experienced myself, the failures that I had when I was younger. So, yeah.
Well, one of the things that happens when you are a practitioner and you are listening intently to people and their experiences over the years, you get all of the stories of what they've gone through in the system. I already knew that the system was not there, or even not set up to help people, never was. That wasn't the intention. The intention was to sell pharmaceutical drugs and their quote unquote remedies, and to teach the doctors just how to apply the drug regime, and not to actually heal the individual. And so I was always very vocal about that for a very, very long time, even before naturopathic college. I think really my awakening to that there's something very, very wrong fundamentally in the entire industry and all of its offshoots is when I was in university, especially into my second and third years, where I started to see that you don't question your professors. They don't like being questioned. Essentially, the ones who get tenure, the people who get somewhere, have either done something what's considered famous. They wrote something that was considered large for their time, and they snuck in that way, or they just regurgitated the same garbage in a newer way of their predecessors, and they got up in the ranks. And so the more, and that it was getting worse in that direction. So if you wanted to get grant money or you wanted to be involved in university, you needed to toe the party line, essentially. So it wasn't something that was about innovation, unless it was something to make a lot of money for the university, or it wasn't about pure sciences, or reinvestigating anything that might be questioned. I mean, you're not going to question things that you're told are established. If germ theory is established, it's established. You don't question it. That's it. You move along. No one's going to go and give you grant money to go back in time, right? And refresh that information. So that is where I started to see there was a problem, because especially in a lot of my classes, like logic classes or economics, I would ask questions that I was given bad marks just for doing that. Like, why, for example, in economics, why do you guys assume that the resources are finite when you're doing the equations? Because that's just an assumption. That's not fact. It's not working with the evidence in front of you. And that was slapped down quite hard. This is what you do. This is the modeling system that works for us. So we don't change that. And how dare you come in and question something that we've been doing for 50 years? Who do you think you are, kind of an attitude, right? And that was really disappointing. I would write papers on things, even in naturopathic college. One of my thesis papers, my main thesis paper, was connecting the dots between restless leg syndrome and Parkinson's disease as a pre-Parkinsonian sort of screening. And I was told this was stupid. I was told it was irrelevant, that there was no bearing in it, or all this kind of stuff. And I got bad marks in it. And I was so upset because to me, it was like a eureka connection. And the science was there. I did the research to back it up. I wasn't just saying it. And then I was supporting the way to actually repair it ahead of time so it didn't go into Parkinson's. But I think it was just because the professor didn't like me. I think it was just petty, actually. But what it did to me is made me question myself and doubt myself, because I'm that type of person that's very reflective. And if I think that something is wrong or I've done something wrong, trust me, I'm going to go to me first. I'm going to see what I did there. And I'm going to try to figure it out, because I take full responsibility for my creations and for what's happening in my life. I don't think about blaming others or projecting like most people do. And then years and years had passed. So, I mean, this was written about 13, 14 years ago when I did that. And lo and behold, what happens? I think about a year or so ago, I go and just see if the science has caught up with my theory, and lo and behold, it has. Now it's a thing, right? And when it wasn't then. And I guess I felt somewhat vindicated in a sense, but I realized so many things about the disease of the industries, of that. It's not about that creation. It's not about your own brilliance. Your brilliance is not triumphed like you would think. Massaging egos, the brown nosers, a horrible term, but that's what we called them. The brown nosers would always get the A pluses. They'd always get the grant money. They'd always get the first jobs. The ones who were ruthless, the ones that would bribe anybody to get their way. The ones who they would slash someone, they would kill someone even. You know, you'd question that they would do that to get into the position of power. They're a ruthless type of behavior that the industry is set up to support. And that's unfortunate. Even in my own naturopathic modeling system, I noticed that it was very split. You'd have your intuitive, spiritually minded, connected naturopaths, and then you'd have your medicalized, logic only sort of hyper intellectuals who could memorize anything you put in front of them so they could get straight A's, but they were absolutely idiotic. They could not put two and two together. They could not make extract an idea from knowledge. Like they couldn't make leaps of faith in the knowledge to come up with even a very important theory. They're just like automatons, essentially, and those are the ones who succeed in the industry, and that's what you get. And they want that. They preen for that. And even, I don't think even now, even one of my, mentors, Dr. Godfrey, he's gone now, but he was extremely spiritually minded and grounded and connected to the creator and so forth. He's even said to me, at this point, if he were to apply to naturopathic college, he would not get in. They would screen him away. And it's gotten worse. So if you're only screening and preening for these hyper intellectual idiots, as I call them, you're not going to get the real healers in the system at all. Not even a little. They're selected to be removed from the system on purpose. And not only that, even at the end, when you're trying to graduate, when you graduate or when you're trying to get your licensing, whatever, they will block you. They will make it difficult for you. They will always put you under board review. They will always find something you've done wrong to make it impossible for you to succeed. That's how bad this is, we're talking naturopathic medicine. We're not even talking the other, systems. If you, like, for example, in the naturopathic community, you're not allowed to talk about quaxines, as I call them. You're not allowed to talk about the mystery of why we have never isolated a virus in the history of humankind. You're not allowed to question the narrative. You get a slap down.
Isn't that funny? In a way, it's like the naturopathic community, the modern one, is probably trying to mirror the success of the allopathic, the medical system. How fucked up? How fucked up is it? But I have a theory, Amanda, about this, and let me know of your thoughts too. I believe that it's all about human nature at the end. So, you talk about the idiotic ones, the automatons, the autistic, and the other ones which are more intuitive, more fiery, more spiritual. And usually there are, some in the middle. And I've seen, by the way, the same experiences like yours, because I was studying civil engineering here in Greece. And I basically watched the same theater playing on. So I always had, for example, me and a few friends there in the civil engineering school, we have original ideas about weird homes, bio homes that were, under the the land, under the soil. And we were always, the last of the last with our grades. We were not very good if you watch our grades, but our ideas were original, at least, And I saw also the guys that you talked about, the brown nosers. And I guess that most people already know what that means. And I've watched them, diligently every day, being in the front of the row of the class, of every class, being friendly with the professors. And it was, uh, it was very fresh when it was great when I met one professor from like a few dozen in the engineering school that was, he had studied in some American university or something, and he was like cool as a cucumber. He was very upfront, very nice, and he asked us from the get-go, from the day one, for original ideas from the get-go. But he was in the minority, and he talked about this, and I remember it clearly. He talked about the system. He was a professor, by the way, an esteemed one. So, and he talked about the system, and he inspired us to never let our, originality go. So, yeah, I identify with what we said. So, since you were in the naturopathing, in the more healthcare space, what's up with the doctors, Amanda? Naturopaths or not, I see a lot of pride in the doctors. What's happening, especially now? But in general, all in the past decade, I have a few stories I will tell you later. What's happening with these guys? They have some education. Is their education right? What do you think?
Well, their education is based on what they're told to learn, which is disease categories. So all symptoms are categorized into specific diseases. And so that's why the MDs they can't think unless they know what the diagnosis is. They won't move forward. They have to have a diagnosis or they don't know what to do. They can't just see an individual, assess them by looking, by hearing their story of what that individual is experiencing, and put it together. They're dumb. They're totally dumb. So they're dumb and blind because they also need to use all of these weird invasive scanning techniques and poking and taking tissue and all this kind of insanity to somehow figure out the diagnosis. And where the diagnosis gets them is to then try to suppress the symptoms using drugs, surgery, or other chemicals. And they fail at that again and again, which is why people come to me after they've had these failed experiences, trusting somehow this person is, because they went to enough schooling, that they have intelligence enough to figure out their health, which is the exact opposite. They only know how to tinker and mess with the perfect system that we were designed to be. They cut out essential organs and tell you they're not essential. They'll inject you they'll tell you that it's a one size fits all injection schedule, that there's no individuality, that it would just be an underlying condition that caused your poisonous reaction. They tell stories. They're like pathological psychopathic liars. Then at the same time they triumph and say they're scientists, or they talk a story about science, and on the next beat they'll predict your death. Or they'll tell you how your disease is going to go, as if they have like a magic ball in front of them that they can peer into. It's absurd. I think they're illogical, and it's meant to be like a cult. That's why I talk a lot about the medical cult. And in cults, you are told what to think. And usually there's a lot of strain in learning whatever the cult doctrine is. You're exhausted most of the time, so your thinking skills are actually diminished. You get to a point where it's just en route. It's just, if you don't, it's a memorization thing, and it's basically in a book, and that's all you do. And you do it over and over and over again. So there's nothing really innovative or individual about the way that you go forward. Like, I can tell people when they come in, I can inform them what I know the doctor has said about it and what drugs they've been given. I can list them off without them even telling me, because it's the same crap every time. So it's going to be antibiotics, cortisol, a biopsy, an X-ray, or a CT scan. I know exactly what they've gone through, and then at the end they're told, well, we don't know. You know, because the whole process is to get them into the screening in the first place. Screening is very dangerous. It's a capture method to entrap people into the system because they invariably find what they're looking for. They're always looking for an artifact, and then they'll call the artifact a cancer or a potential disease, or even the dentists do it. Oh, you have a cavity, we better get it right now before it's worse, or these sorts of stories, right? So to me, it's like a soap opera. Kind of thing, and it's just gotten worse. And the good news is that they've gotten so psychopathic that the cult is sort of falling apart at the seams, which cults always do fail eventually, because you can only move the benchmark of your doomsday scenario so many times before a lot of people kind of go, wait a second, the spaghetti monster is never coming, right? So maybe I got to look elsewhere because this is getting on repeat a little too much. And then they start to open up their eyes. And so the industry is failing so miserably. That's the good news. Unfortunately, there's so many victims who still continue to be beholden to the cult, and think that they're going to get some sort of benefit by being inside of it. Like, right, you'll get the other benefits, like being liked or having friends, or going to social events or whatever, because you're in the cult. Oh, did you get yours? I got mine. I'm part of the cult. Like me, be nice to me, give me the perks. Now I get benefits from being part of the cult. Those people, unfortunately, are ego maniacs mostly. They have no sense of self. They are cowards, and they are afraid of pretty much everything in life. So they'd rather sacrifice their individuality, their integrity, their paths to sacrifice themselves into a cult that will pay them nothing, give them really nothing in the long term, and in fact endanger their very existence. And it's sad to watch, but you can't, really just tell someone they're in a cult. If you've ever experienced anyone who's in, like, Scientology, or in, any of the traditional cults that get away with what they get away with, like the 12 tribes. I mean, nobody stops these cults. They just continue to thrive because they prey on the naive. They prey on people who are in poor positions or in sick. They prey on the sick. They prey on the weak. They prey on those who are vulnerable, right? And that's what this industry does. It's no different to me. So the doctors they believe what they believe. And the problem is they won't hear other stories. And that's the mark, that like a telltale sign of a cult, where you're not allowed to question. New information is shunned. If you are one who continues to question, you're kicked out of the cult. Simple as that. You don't ask questions to the leader. It is what it is. And if you dare do that, you can't be part of this belief system. It's like a very warped religious cult, basically.
I will add that they have a huge amount of respect from the societies. Here in Greece, for example, every grandfather, grandmother, when the time comes for a teenager to proceed for the examinations, the Pan-Hellenic examinations, they are called, exams, and if you are successful in the exams, you have a choice for the best schools, engineering, law school, and of course the doctors, the medicine. And for the past 3-4 decades, and it's still here, it's like pathology. We in Greece, we have a pride. If our children are medics, doctors, it's like, you present it with pride. And I always find that very disturbing, because it was in my path to be a doctor. So when I started out, when I was 16, 15, I was very good in school, in biology and everything and stuff. After that, it was a time to choose between something, either I go to the doctors, to the medical school, or to something else. And I was very close to go to the doctor school, but I have a bad experience with doctors at that time. I had, it was a virus, if virus exists, something that I had supposedly, and I had very high fever. and a doctor who was well paid by us, he gave me a huge antibiotic pills for like 2 months or something. And I was worse after them. And I would pee orange for a month, and it was horrible pain. So I was like, I mean, if that's what you pay, I mean, let me die from fever. That was one, and another was I had something like in my reproductive system when I was 16. I have a genetically issue, probably I think something in my urethra or something, and I went to the doctor's office and I hoped that, it would be an easy exam. It was already very shameful to me to be seen naked by a doctor and nurses at 16 years old, as you can imagine. And they put me on a machine. Do you know the Leonardo da Vinci, the man,
Mm-hmm.
Vitruvian? How?
Vesuvius. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It was a machine like that. And they put me on that
I know
naked.
that one. Oh gosh. Yeah.
It was a ritual. I mean, and nothing good came from it. It changed nothing for my life. It was supposedly I could do a surgery after that, which was crazy expensive, and not only that, it could fail. So it was like, why did I go through all that mess? And of course, it was traumatic. I mean, it was traumatic and very, very painful. I couldn't pee for a month. Many similar experiences like that, like, going to the I have issues with my stomach, for example, and my gut. And, going to the gastro and to the guys, and they did the exams, they tried to find what was in my stomach, in my gut, and they did, the colonoscopy, the stomach thing, and it was one more awful than the other one. And I was like, what the fuck? Really, what the fuck? Is this medicine? Is this really? And the last thing, and I want you to comment on that thing, the last thing, is hospitals. I was really impressed when I when I went to hospitals. It was horrible because you are sick. There was a time I had for a few days a gastric, not disease, how do you say, a bacteria or something, and I puked and had fever. So I went in totally in my bad day. So I was very weak. The lights, everything was up. No one closed the lights. It was white lights that we know are bad for health, for circadian rhythm. And at some point, I was very weak, and I wanted just to see, my mother, my brothers, because I thought I was going to die probably because I was the fever was like very high, and I puked everything like 4 times. And I was like, okay, that's it for me, and I want to see my family before I go. And it was like my wish was answered, but by the devil. And at that point, a doctor came in with medical students, and that's really, they came in with their things they were writing, and they looked at me as if I was not even a thing, not even a soul as wood. And I think wood has some soul, but and they talked in rubbish language, like in Latinish slash, we don't know what this language is, medical language, and they talked about me without even looking at me. They looked at my graph, and as if I was like, a toy. And I remember the feeling. It was like, disgusting. Anyways, I don't want to judge it before you say something, but what's your experience with hospitals?
Well, it's an unfortunate position to be in, to be in one of those places, because it's you're going to be victimized, in a hospital. Because now this is a blanket statement. There's different models in different countries. And there may be hospitals where I know people who were like, they felt very cared for by some of the nursing staff, or they felt helped. But the issue is it's called Stockholm syndrome. So a lot of those people will play nice or will tint their experiences with a wonderful situation because they're part of the cult indoctrination. So when they go in, they think they're going to be helped. So that's the way they see it, right? So they see getting a needle in their arm or getting an IV, getting a scan, being fed, even if it's McDonald's and Jell-O and junk food, that it's care. They see it as care. Getting their diaper changed is care, right? Getting handed a glass of water. So a lot of these people who speak like that, we have to question where their minds are at to where their filter is on what they think they're seeing. The way I see it is they're death traps, and they're places you go to either die or get sick. Not a place to heal and not a place to recover or to be, helped ultimately. It's a place that if you need quick suppression of something, an accident, bleeding, something that's uncontrollable because you've been kept in the dark, you're in ignorance because the industry and society has made sure you know nothing about your body, or you know lies about your body. So you don't feel in control of it, and you don't know how to eat right, you don't know how to exercise, you don't know how to prevent disease, and you don't know what to do even in emergency situations, how to triage yourself. And people are so TV programmed that they automatically go into fear states if they have even a cut on their fingers half the time. So they're programmed to overreact to things, not be calm in the moment and figure out what you can do for yourself. They're automatically giving their power away to them. And I'm not saying that there's no services there. I'm saying that a lot of people go because of fear, not because they really need it per se. So you get a lot of that. If you're in a car accident, of course, you're going to get pulled into an emergency situation, but that's not a hospital situation. That just means you're going in for the jaws of life that are required to stop a bleeding, pull out some shrapnel from your body. And then later, what should happen is the holistic healing and balancing. The danger is they would rather inject you with their quaxines before they even deal with the emergency at hand. That's how psychopathic they've gotten. You'll hear discussions where people will say, oh, I was there to have a baby, which is the worst place to ever have a baby. I would never go to a hospital to do such a thing. It's not an emergency. It's a normal, natural bodily process that you can do at home. I would never walk into this hellhole because you're batting away insanity the whole time. Baby monitors, injections, fear propaganda, scanning that's unnecessary, being told left, right, and center, this bad thing's happening, that bad thing can happen, not allowed to have your proper labor time, all of those things, right? I mean, it's ridiculous. But that system is there to intimidate you. And so that's where you have to be strong-willed if you're going to be in that situation. And most aren't. I have a gazillion stories. I could literally just stop everything I'm doing and write books about hospital stories or doctor stories. And that could be my career, literally, from the amount of sagas I've been told. Like, you have your experiences, as you've said, and I could tell you how many people have had that are ridiculous and terrible, including my own stories. Of what I went through and why I even became what I became, because I saw what they were doing. They killed all my grandparents. They murdered all my grandparents. So there was that. They damaged my health significantly, where I'm constantly having to be on top of it because they removed, tonsil tissue. They removed teeth improperly, things that should not have ever been done like that. It's like people think somehow this technology is advanced when we're in the dark ages. Literally, medicine is in the dark ages. It's pathetic, and it's sold to us as some sort of incredible tech, and they're doing it again. They're pushing the AI and the robotics and like robotic limbs and all of this insanity and gene therapies and crap, which is just demonic. It's satanic. It's evil. Why would you do that to yourself? Why would you want to do that to yourself? To me, that's sick. That's like the next progression of the cult into its next delusional stage, because cults will progress in their delusions. And so this is the next level for it. these kinds of therapeutics or these kinds of ideas that we all have to have it done or else. Like, where did this idea, this is sick, this is mental illness, to think that everybody has to have the same therapeutic poison put into them so we're all protected? That's one of the biggest cult indoctrination lies that has infiltrated into our societies. And it's through all of these systems. It's through just plain ignorance, and and all of the torture they've done to people has made the problem. So it's a problem reaction solution Hegelian dialectic approach, right, where you tinker with the perfect system when they're babies. So they go into the hospitals, they're messed with right day one, they're poked, they're injected, they're gooped in the eyes, they don't have proper bonding, their blood is damaged, they cut the cord early, all of this crap. C-sections, not seeding the mouth with the vaginal flora right out of the gate. That should be just done. That should be just naturally done. They're not even looking at their own literature. That's how pathetic they are. And then so you get a damaged child immediately. And not only that, you probably have a damaged child because they're not even telling you how to have a healthy pregnancy properly. And they're doing poking and prodding and Dopplers and ultrasounds and all kinds of stuff to the mother, and telling them that they should get also quaxines in their bodies, that they should be poisoned, that's going to protect their baby. It's just lies upon lies. So they've already set the stage for the damage. So of course you're not going to notice the difference, will you? You would never know the child you would have had. I know the child I have because I've never ever walked into such. I would never put my child in harm's way. I know who the devils are. I would never sacrifice her to the Moloch devil of the medical cult, ever. She was never a sacrifice to that demon. And so she's never been injected. She's never had a drug. She's never gone to a hospital. She's never seen a quack, none of it. And she is the most brilliant, intelligent, healthy, vital, flowing in her intuition. It is remarkable to see a child like that, and to understand that a fever that you had, for example, is normal and natural and is part of a healing mechanism. That throwing up is your body purging. Your body is trying to get rid of a toxin or a poison. You were damaged because they damaged you. And then they're so psychopathic, they can't notice that they damaged you at birth with their injections and their garbage and never teaching you how to eat properly and formulas and don't breastfeed and this insanity. Right? Then you get sick and they say, well, you caught something, because they're nutcases who will never take their responsibility for the damage that they did to the children in the first place. And so now they come in, they set the stage, you're a customer for life, they get you. And they blame it on some boogeyman germ that's floating through the air, because that's how crazy they are. They're literally nuts. So that's how I see hospitals, and that's how I see doctors, and that's how I see the medical cartel. They're absolutely batshit crazy. And you can't tell me otherwise, because I will have people, I've even did a little video blurb on, you can find on my yummy.doctor website, things that MDs say. I actually researched some evidence of like what an MD has said to some of these people and quoted it and acted it out with my, using my acting background. Right. And like, they really believe that. I mean, one doctor says, oh, she's not jaundiced, she just looks yellow because she's wearing yellow. Why are you dressing her in that ugly color anyway? I mean, what are you? What kind of comment is that, right?
Some people call them reptiles, but
Yes.
I really admire. First of all, I admire that you did a natural birth, because for one, it's how most ladies did that for millennia. My grandmothers both did that. They were in the village in the middle of nowhere, and they are strong as heck, and their children are strong as heck, even though some of them, my aunts and my uncles, are infiltrated by the reptile demons, and they believe the medical system, even though they have all the strength they can muster. It's funny. It's really funny. It's funny. It's weird. It's an inverted world. I don't know, Amanda, and you've seen much more than I have seen. But at the end of the day, really, If you open your eyes, 3 probably, you can see things. For example, I've experienced things like what you said also about these hospitals, about the doctors, about the results. Honestly, you can find plenty of evidence. You don't need to be a journalist to go and find things. You can just see your history and open your eyes, your ears, your not imagination, but see the details. Everything failed. I mean, my history with doctors is a complete failure. Like complete, like nothing really, almost nothing. Or let me be kind of general. Almost nothing worked out, and I paid my most of the money were by my parents. My youth, thousands of euros or dollars. It's sad. It's comedic. I don't know. It's weird. I know that you have many things in your shop and in your business, and you do great, beautiful things, and soaps and natural ones and creams and stuff. Besides these beautiful things, do you want to do a short synopsis on the DMSO thing and just, let us know very short history, and then we can slowly end this beautiful chat.
Well, again, if you want to understand the dementedness of the medical establishment, is that if you go to your hospital or you go ask your doctor what is DMSO, most of them won't know what it is. And that goes for most of the holistic remedies we exist, or they'll say they'll do worse. They'll judge it and say it's dangerous. They'll lie, basically. So be aware of that you're right. It's inverted on purpose. Everything is upside down and backwards. So that gives you a little bit of for most people who are trying to navigate their intuition or their gut, if you will, then you can use that as a basic, like, directional goalpost that if they say that, it's 180 the other way is probably more the truth. So that gives you a directional. DMSO, dimethyl sulfoxide, is a natural substance that comes from plants and trees particularly. And it's what keeps the trees strong, upright, and vital, and is part of their communication network and systems. And when the pulp and paper industry want to remove the strength of the trees to get the pulp, that's one of the products that needs to leave. So it's a waste product, basically, from that industry. And if you know anything about industry, they will always make sure that their offshoots are sold on to make extra inputs from that. And in this case, it happens to be a beneficial one rather than a poisonous one. And then other industries will take it and just purify it into a refined way. And so there's different levels of purification that can be done. This substance should be in every hospital. It used to actually be in emergency rooms. There is a version of it that's used in hospitals that's extremely expensive because it's lab derived. And it's called Rimzo. And that is probably away from most emergency room knowledge base, but it can stop a heart attack or a stroke immediately, an ischemic stroke. It will stop in a moment, almost like using cayenne pepper. You can use high doses of cayenne pepper to open up blood flow. Same thing with DMSO. You can use it to open up blood flow immediately to prevent the damage that ensues. And not only that, but if there's a stroke that occurs, you want to use DMSO immediately and continue on with it to repair the damage caused by the stroke. And if you do so, you can heal it completely without having permanent damage. It also prevents against radiation damage. So if you're using it regularly, you'll prevent the DNA breakages and damage that happen from repeated electromagnetic field damage, radiation damage, all of the stuff happening around us, even dirty pollution like dirty electricity. But it's more used ahead of time. It's a necessity ahead of time. As far as it healing it after the fact, it can, but it can be more limited because once scar tissue has set in, it's a little more of a difficult process to heal it. So even things like Down syndrome can be healed using DMSO when done in youth. And Dr. Stanley Jacob has a protocol for that in one of his books, and how he healed a Down's child using DMSO in her food, because it will actually repair genetic damage. So, we're experiencing a lot of that now, genetic damage from repeated generations of being poisoned by glyphosate, being poisoned by the shots. It's a generational problem, because even when they did studies on glyphosate or Roundup, that's put in so much of the food and in the soils, they found that if the person ingesting it was okay, they were okay in that lifetime, but their children had an accumulation of the glyphosate in their cells even without eating it, and they were not okay. They were more sickly from that. They did this in animal studies, and then the generation after that was even worse, and then the generation after that was completely infertile. So these sorts of issues are not always seen in the moment. And this is, again, why these maniacs get away with what they're doing, is because they make sure there's enough time that's passed in between the poisoning and the effect, so that they psychopathically can say, well, it wasn't that, it couldn't have been that, right? So DMSO is also a nerve block. It's a true analgesic, so it can be used for nerve pain, and not a lot of things can be used properly for nerve pain. There's limitations on that, and those drugs are very deadly. It has great effects on the connective tissue of the body, so it repairs a lot of that particular type of connective tissue, again, which is hard to do in a lot of scenarios. It increases diuresis, so if you have any issues with kidneys or bladder, it can assist to clear that out and to flush out the tissues and repair them. It enhances the effectiveness of other drugs and medications and supplements and other natural products. So you have to be aware, if you're still on medications, you need to work your way off of those while you work into your lifestyle DMSO and other good things. It also is a muscle relaxant, so it helps with muscle pain. And like I said, it has vasodilation effects, which also is part of the delivery method of other things, including it's its own healer in and of itself too. And it has also what Stanley Jacobs started using it for was cryopreservation. So it actually preserves the cells from oxidative damage and from freezing damage, because it has a very high freezing point. Some people will get, DMSO shipped from me and it's frozen because we've shipped it out in the winter, and they're like, oh my gosh, what happened? Is it damaged? It's like, no, it's fine. It'll just dilute and be in its normal state. But because of it, it's used in organ transplants and all kinds of medical uses. So you can go and search in the establishment, and DMSO is everywhere. DMSO is used in almost all studies of tissue cultures, of organ transplant. So it's actually one of the greater studied substances that we have. And ironically, most people don't know about it, because the healing benefits and the usages are, of course, hidden away. And there's a big scandal, of course, always with the FDA that happened back in the 70s, where they were making it criminal to use it or even to study it. And there's a lot of interesting books and stories about the history of really where it went into Nowhereville. And unfortunately also, it happened around the time of the scandal, of the drug scandal with the thalidomide issue. So thalidomide was causing fertility damage, where children were born with stunted arms and legs. And it was around the same time that DMSO was trumped as a cure-all, and that's how thalidomide was actually put out too. So they were also shy and hesitant to even do such a thing again, thinking that they were going to make a similar mistake. And that's, again, what people forget, is how many times science and industry has gotten it wrong and made terrible, terrible errors and damaged so many children. And that's somehow forgotten, as if we should just listen to them without question. So yeah, it has, it stops blood clotting. A lot of people are having blood clotting issues with this latest jab, and also with even being around people who've had the latest jab, because they're so toxic. And you can use DMSO to prevent platelet aggregation, which is a clotting issue. It grabs metals, it detoxes metals from the body. It helps with the liver processes. It's going to stop certain types of processes like if you're infected means you have damaged tissue. So if you can get the DMSO in to heal the tissue fast, then it gets rid of the infection. But it's not really about killing anything. It's about faster repair systems. And like I said, it's radioprotective as well. It balances out cholesterol naturally because it gets rid of inflammation, and cholesterol is only high because it's helping to balance out an inflammatory condition. So you never want to lower your cholesterol. You actually just want to deal with why your tissue is inflamed, and 9 out of 10 times it's inflamed because the tissue is toxic, because there's poisons in the tissue and the body's trying to open up the cell areas to get the wastes and out and repair the cells. And that's why you have cholesterol there, to prevent a bleed out, essentially. So you never want to lower cholesterol. You want to repair the cells. And that's why you would use DMSO instead of a statin. And I could go on because it's one of those substances that has many approaches. And then I put it in my blends because it's transdermal, and so I can put it in a skin cream and it will carry the nutrition and the oils and the things that are beneficial to the body through the skin. If it's the low molecular weight, it will go through. And so you'll get delivery that way. In fact, you can actually feed yourself with nutrients through the skin. If you have gut inflammation, you're not absorbing your nutrition, you can actually use a parenteral method using DMSO and nutrition and have it go transdermally into your body, which is the most incredible thing when you think about it, and also tells you how corrupt the industry is, that they will not use such a thing in critical cases where you have a dying patient, or you have a patient is deeply infected or has sepsis or all of these things. They won't go and use that substance. I've had people in hospitals trying to get the nurses or doctors to use DMSO on their loved ones, and they absolutely refuse to look at the information, and they even threaten the loved ones to never do such a thing, that it's dangerous and all of this kind of stuff. So they're in ignorance and they don't know what they're talking about. And if you just did a little bit of studying, I can give you a link to one of the Hirschler articles. Was one of the original levels of studying that I did when I found out about it, that goes through all the primary pharmacological actions of DMSO, which is a little more in depth than, say, my book. But if you're really curious from that sort of scientific perspective, then it's a very helpful read.
Two things. First of all, DMSO seems almost supernatural. So it's intriguing. And I know that maybe some people might think that, it sounds too good to be true. But, it is what it is. Sometimes there are things that can really enhance our immunity, our everything. Everything we can have our grasp on, everything that we can have access, is gold. In these times especially, because witches are still burning. I don't know if witches were witches back in the day, but it seems to me that herbalists and these kind of people like you, and hopefully I someday, we are a little bit on the run. We are trying to hide from others that don't want the truth to be spilled out to the public. So having said that, I want to thank you for coming here and for telling all these things. And it's amazing. You have an amazing memory, by the way. How can you do that? I don't know. It seems to me that you flow, and hopefully I will do that at some point too. You flow. You have probably because you love the subject so much that you know everything about it. So thank you for that. It was very educational for me, and I hope for everyone listening and will listen in the future. And do you want to tell us where the people can find you, Amanda?
Sure. And thank you, Dean. Thank you for, putting yourself out there and getting the information through, because in order for us to overcome the rampant censorship, we need to have many tendrils going outwardly so people can find the information. So you're definitely doing your part in helping the information just to get to people, which legitimately saves lives. And this substance has saved many a life. And so the book itself, if you're interested in just learning about what it contains, is healingwithdmso.com. Equally, you can find that book on my main website, which is YUM Naturals, that's plural, .store. That's where my concoctions are and my professional supplements and all of the things that I offer, including the book. And then my educational and interactive soon-to-be website is yummy, YUMMY.doctor, DOCTOR. Doctor is the domain. You don't have to put anything else from there. And it's under construction off and on the next few weeks because we're upgrading to offer our membership, our courses. I'm going to be building protocols for sale because I realized my one-on-one practice was not as effective, meaning I was burning out, and also there were too many people coming for help that I couldn't do it in this one-on-one capacity and service everyone. So I'm changing the modeling so I can service more people and empower them to do what they need to do for themselves rather than being victimized into the industry. And once they know, you can't unknow. And then actually the health and the foundational principles of health are not that difficult, believe it or not. And once you understand that, so I'll be teaching that, and I have been in through my videos, but this will be more deliberate, teaching that, and then here are the remedies that work again and again to help you. And one of them, of course, being DMSO and how to use it properly, and many other substances that are either attacked by the mainstream or hidden, or attacked by the FDA or hidden, or any of these industries that are just arms of the pharmaceutical cartel that are not there for your health, well-being, or safety. They're actually there for their control factions and are part of the same big, trillion-dollar industry that is there to feed on humanity and not to help humanity. Once we get that knowledge, then you're empowered, and then you don't need to go into the systems at all, because what we're doing is we're not really hiding. What we're doing is we're developing a proper society, one based in sound logic, actual science, true knowledge, wisdom, historical wisdom, and unearthing the truth and exposing the lies that we've been sold over such a period of time. And so it's truly a great awakening in that regard, and the demons are being outed. And that's what we're going to continue to do. And so the more that we empower ourselves with the knowledge and the awareness and know what to do for our health and well-being, then we're no longer going to be in their system and part of their victim cycle. And that's true freedom. And I'm very, very pleased that we could have this talk today, Dean. And thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Well, I feel ashamed if you say thank you to me, because your presence is really honoring everything that I'm studying, and I hope that you find the strength, and you continue doing what you do for many years to come. And I hope that people listen to you more because you deserve it. Your energy is very blissful, and what you say seems true, your views, everything. So thank you, Amanda. And everyone listening, have a nice day, have a nice week, and have strength. Listen to Amanda, because things will come in the future, and we probably have to be prepared. And you can go to Amanda's courses and learn more. I will do for sure. I'm sold. I need it, by the way, so I'm egotistical, don't. I'm doing it for me, Amanda.
It's okay.
Don't think it's, but joking aside, thank you for doing all this, and hope to talk to you about in a year from now and see where we are at. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.